In the spring of 1944, Allied forces were making significant strides across Europe. A small British unit was stationed in an old French chateau that had been requisitioned for use as a temporary headquarters. The chateau, with its ornate rooms and sprawling grounds, had once been the home of a wealthy family before the war turned it into a strategic asset. One night, while the soldiers were preparing for a major operation, Private Henry Mitchell was assigned to guard duty in the chateau's library, a room filled with dusty books and faded portraits of the previous owners. The library was quiet except for the occasional creak of the old wooden floorboards. As Henry read through some old war maps to pass the time, he began to hear soft, melancholy music drifting through the air. It was a haunting melody that seemed to come from nowhere. At first, he thought it might be an old radio left on, but the sound was too faint and eerie for any ordinary radio broadcast. Intrigued and a bit unsettled, Henry followed the sound to a large, ornate mirror that stood in one corner of the room. The mirror was framed in gold and covered with intricate designs. As he examined it, the music grew louder and more sorrowful. Suddenly, the reflection in the mirror shifted, showing not the library but a grand ballroom from another era. The ballroom was filled with elegantly dressed couples dancing gracefully, their movements synchronized with the music. At the center of the room was a young woman in a beautiful gown, her face a picture of longing and sadness. Henry watched in disbelief as the woman's gaze seemed to meet his through the mirror. Her eyes were filled with a deep sorrow, and she reached out as if trying to communicate. Henry felt an inexplicable urge to help her, though he had no idea what she needed. Over the next few days, Henry learned from local villagers that the chateau had once belonged to a wealthy family who had been torn apart by the war. The young woman in the mirror was the daughter of the family, who had been engaged to a soldier. As the war progressed, her fiancé was killed in battle, and she never recovered from the loss. She was said to have spent her final days in the ballroom, waiting for a man who would never return. Moved by the story, Henry decided to honor her memory. He organized a small, solemn ceremony in the ballroom, with a few of his fellow soldiers and local villagers in attendance. They placed a bouquet of flowers at the base of the mirror and shared stories of love and sacrifice. That night, the music played again, but this time, it was softer and more peaceful. When Henry returned to the library, he found the mirror's reflection showing only the room he was in, with no sign of the ballroom or the ghostly figures. The haunting melody was gone, replaced by a quiet sense of calm. The soldiers who had witnessed the ceremony felt a profound respect for the chateau's history and the enduring spirit of its past inhabitants. Private Mitchell never saw the ghostly woman again, but the memory of that night stayed with him, a poignant reminder of the personal stories intertwined with the broader sweep of history. Like and subscribe for more scary short stories.